Hi, this is Dave Darrington, and this session we'll talk about surveys. Within this section, we'll learn how to design and distribute surveys within Gainsight, create branching and linked questions, create CTAs based on survey results, and analyze surveys and NPS results. Gainsight offers a powerful survey tool where you can easily create multi-page surveys with a variety of different question types, including multiple choice, matrix, and more standard NPS questions. As the admin, you have access to create surveys, but, much like Copilot, you can set granular permissions to others to perform this function. We'll do a review now on how you can create surveys from different templates, clone them, preview them, and test before sending them out. One of the most common surveys you may create is an NPS, or Net Promoter Score, survey. This is a customer loyalty metric developed around 2003 with the purpose of determining a clear and easily interpretable customer satisfaction score, which could be compared over time. NPS surveys are a simple way to assess to what extent a respondent would recommend a certain company, product, or service. It's simple to calculate and operates on a simple 0 to 10 point scale. Let's briefly discuss how you may go about designing questions via Gainsight surveys. For this exercise, let's pretend we're, say, a dessert company. We make cakes, pies, and other foods, and want to design a survey to determine how well we're doing and what we should focus our products on in the next year. Let's ask ourselves first a few questions. 1. Is our survey even necessary? Well, in this case, my company wants to know if they should open perhaps a new pie factory. So definitely there's a good reason to do this. Second, do the questions that we're asking solicit actionable feedback? What do we mean by this? In this case, I'm asking here, do you like cake or pie more? That may help. If cake is 75% of the responses, I have actionable feedback. In this case, I was thinking about opening a new pie factory, and now perhaps it should be cake. Should any question be linked to another question? What does this mean? In other words, if your customer had a bad experience with something, asking a follow-up of what happened would help you to dig a little deeper in survey results and provide additional clarity. Another tip is that if you are including an NPS question, it should go first, so that you don't taint the response by earlier questions in the survey. Additionally, you should always try to keep your surveys relatively static over time. That way you can release your survey again at a future campaign or outreach, and it's easier to track trends over time. Likewise, try to keep your scoring system as consistent as possible so as not to confuse survey takers. By this, I mean if you use a 0 to 10 scale, always keep 0 to the left and 10 on the right. Also, don't switch your scale from 0 to 10 down to 0 to 5, etc. So now let's take a look at Survey module within Gainsight. To navigate to the Survey module, click your menu and select Survey. I happen to be on this page already. So now let's look at the interface. In the top right, you'll have the option to create a new survey, access Vault as usual, and to search on surveys that you have within your system. On the left, there are 4 links to Dashboard, which we're on now, Drafts, Published, and Expired. Now each survey square can give you additional information. For example, I can click on the number of respondents, number of questions, etc., and I will have quick links to that information. Further, near the base of each survey square, you can click the up arrow. You'll have the ability to close, preview, delete, duplicate, and analyze. Now let's review elements to setting up a survey. We'll follow this with an exercise in a few moments. First, the start and end dates here do not close the survey. They just outline the dates for which it is live. The description that's entered in will be placed at the very top of the survey. Selecting a color changes the background of the survey. Selecting preview will allow viewing of the survey the way customers would see it. Selecting the +Q allows for the addition of a new question or one from a pre-made template. And selecting +S allows for the addition of a new section. So let's talk a little bit more about questions. Linking questions allow us to link a follow-up question to a particular response. Some notes. The follow-up question is a pop-up and will display on the same page. And if the follow-up questions do not exist on the same page, they won't appear. Branching questions allow for a response of a question to take you to a new page with more specific questions. For example, let's say that I'm doing a survey which I ask, which desktop email client do you use? Outlook, Mac, Thunderbird, or I don't use an email client, and they answer, I don't use an email client, Then they can be branched or taken to a page with questions more specific to them, such as do you use Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft Live, etc. For NPS survey questions, answers can be associated to specific calls to actions, which is a particularly powerful feature. For example, let's say you receive a low score in a particular response, then you can have a new CTA generated with a playbook showing you all the steps to help you mitigate that risk. Using surveys with Copilot gives greater flexibility. Why? As we've seen already in Copilot, we can use power lists such that participants are not selected directly in the survey creation process, yet derived from certain criteria. Then, within Copilot, the email template we use includes the survey as an attachment. Outreaches are then created using the power list and the email template to send the survey out. So think of the opportunity in this case. You could, for example, have a survey set up to be distributed automatically based on particular conditions, such as completion of onboarding. Survey analytics display various values as you would expect, such as how many surveys were successfully sent, how many participants have responded, and what are those responses to each individual question. You have options to change the graphical view and to export directly to an Excel spreadsheet. Now let's walk through the stages of creating a survey on our own. If you're in Gainsight, again, click your menu and select Survey. I'm already on this page. And at this point, what you'll need to do is create a new survey by clicking the plus survey button. This gives you the options of creating a new survey from scratch or choosing a pre-built survey such as implementation or NPS. In this case, I am going to cancel, although in the PDF attached to this training, you will see some examples that you can go through on your own step by step. So clicking Gainsight Vault takes us to the Vault page. And in this case, I've already queued up a customer service feedback survey. I can click on this link, and this is under Home, Manage Customer Risk, Support Risk, Customer Feedback Survey. As I've shown before with Vault, you'll see a preview of all the questions that this lists in the survey, and then I can click Download. Now, I've already done that in my environment, and that is the first link that you see here. Now let's open this up and work with it a little bit, edit it, and understand what's involved. Now I click on that, and now I have a interface that gives me properties, questions, etc. So let's go down one by one. On the Properties tab, you can see I have the option of creating or uploading a logo. So I can upload a logo here. I'll just select Acme. Change my language. I could set my survey name. I could choose the email service if this is an option. Setting my start date and my end date, of course, allows me to specify the range for which this will be available to an end user. You can choose to allow for anonymous submission. Down below, I can also do internal submission, which is a nice feature. Say that if you want to interview somebody and ask them the questions in person or on the phone, you could do that as well. Then we have our description, our thank you, which could be a message or some other custom page, footer, codes, title, and then my background color. So normally I would save that. I've already done that. Now let's go to the Questions tab. Once again, I've already downloaded this out of Vault. So this comes pre-made, and I have a number of questions. First and foremost, I have my NPS survey question. Clicking on that gives me a little bit more information. You can see this is a rating, and an answer is required. I can move these up. I can move them down and around. Plus S will create a new section. That will give me a new header. Plus Q is obviously a new question. I can have multiple choice, drop-down rating, ranking, short text, long text, or even matrix. So there's quite a few options available to you. The little pencil is edit, so I can edit my page name. And delete, I won't select that yet, but that would delete the page on the list. So for each of the questions, obviously I have quite a few of them here. Similarly, I can edit, clone, or duplicate and delete them as well. So in this exercise, this is an NPS survey. So of course, I want to be able to make these actionable. Let's click Set CTAs. And you can see here I've created two calls to action. And these are powered by the rules engine. And I would do that by clicking plus new rule, and now I would have a rule that would based off of something that's happened in the system. Let's take a look at these. First off, I want to be able to have a promoter and recognize them as a possible referral. If somebody asks, how likely is it that you would recommend us to a friend or colleague, and they would give an answer of 9 or 10, then I could specify the creation of a CTA with the following properties. And in this case, I'd set priority to high, status to new, etc. So let's click on this and we'll look at the rule in a little bit more detail. Again, to get to this page, I would have clicked plus new rule. And now I'm going to define when this CTA should be created based off of a survey response. Again, I'll select my specific survey question. I will select the answers, and I could do a multiple select by holding command in this case. I can add different ones here. And now here is my CTA screen where I could choose my priority, my status, and all of the other fields. Again, this is just like we've shown you previously for calls to action. The asterisks will specify the fields that must be listed. You can use tokens again like you'd had before. You can set comments in here like you had before and save when you're done. Now I have a second one, so let's cancel that. I have a second CTA just to show you that I could have more than one created. Here, if someone was a detractor or they scored 0 to 6 on my survey, then I'd want to take a different action. And this may be even more important than the action I had before. Let's take a look. So here I see I have an automated rule that specifies 0 to 6. And then I have a CTA listed off of this as well. We'll cancel that. Now let's look at some of the other settings that we have available to us on the screen. So clicking Publish Survey, this would be the URL that I would want to specify. Normally this is my company, so this would be your domain or otherwise. And I would refer to the documentation for explicit details on this. You would select which template that you would want to use and select the email that this comes from. In this case, I'll just select me. And then you could test your email or you could publish it. Next, I'll have participants. Now this is where I specify the individuals that I want to send this out to. So here I can choose from a contact object, a custom object, or even from a CSV file, which is very nice. What the field is that I'm looking for. So here I'm looking for full name from the contact object. And I can do additional filtering if I choose to do so. And I can do excludes. When I save that, that will update that. Now let's go to the distribute option. And this is the page where I would be able to set a schedule. And I could choose what I want that schedule to be named, when I want that to send on a calendar. So I could choose today's date, for example, and the time down to the minute, which is pretty cool. And from the from list, who this would be coming from. And then I could show the participants that I would have on this list. At this point, I don't have any selected, so let's cancel this. Now I have a little bit of a dashboard here. I can see who has responded, total participants, who's been contacted, and some information about whether we've had undelivered emails and who all of my participants were. Choose to resend that, and I can even specify individual targets and click the send button. Analyze is, of course, where we have all the power to see what has been responded. Here, I just sent this out recently, so I don't have any responses yet, but I can see my sent, and I can choose to look at this in different formats, whether tabular or a pie graph, and I can download these things, which is nice. And here I'll see all the responses to the questions that I have listed accordingly. Now finally, we have permissions, and this is where you can set granular details on a specific survey. Here I can say I've set up new users. I have Ali Garcia and Catherine Bennett, and I could delete them, I could save them, or I can make changes. In this case, it can be very detailed in what I want them to have access to. As you can see, Catherine has only analyzed, But Alley can edit, design, publish, distribute, preview, and analyze. So she's got a lot of power there. Clicking a new user would allow me to pick another user. Here I've got Oscar, and I can select all the permissions I want, and hit save, and that adds to my list. One more thing to note about this screen, and this is in the front end, the administrative backend, we'll also want to make sure that we enable survey permissions before we start. So to do that, I will go to the Surveys page in the administration screen. That's under Communication Surveys. And click Configure. And all I need to do here is click the Enable button and save. Then that would take me back to my permissions screen where I can change that accordingly. Thanks for joining us for this review of surveys. In the next module, we'll gain a broader understanding of Gainsight architecture.